Welcome to the 2021 Virtual Family Farm Day. So this is an annual event that we've been hosting for several years, but this is the second year that we've had to do it virtually. We have today 3 farms that I would like to introduce you to, but here we are at the Spirit Square Farmers Market, and so we're going to also take this opportunity to chat with a few folks. Super excited to introduce Port Alberni's newest farmer. We're going to start another multi-generational farm in the valley. And without further ado,
this is our newest addition. His name is Sydney, and he was born July 17th this year. He's been at the market every week since he was 3 weeks old. So he's a staple now, and will be here until he can stay asleep longer.
Thank you, Sarah. So exciting. Now we're going to head off to Stonehaven Farm.
So right now we're running about 30 ewes, and then of course hopefully they have about 2 lambs per lambing in the spring, and then we've got a herd of beef, Black Angus beef cows. The animals are out on the grass. We don't put a bunch of hormone and stuff like that. We allow the animals, we don't handle them unless we absolutely have to, unless somebody's injured or something like that, then we'll deal with that. But for the most part, the animals come and go. There's very, very little handling of them whatsoever, except during lambing time. That tends to be a little busier, and the ewes are quite grateful when they have a helping hand. We're selling lamb for meat, and we do sell them live as well, the same with the calves. The fleece actually hasn't been worth very much, so it costs more money to actually deal with that. I do have a loom sitting up in my closet that I've been dying to do, but there's been so many other projects trying to redo things around here. We were the first farm to get a D license here in the Alberni Valley, and so we're hoping this fall to start processing animals for people. So the D license allows us to slaughter on site, so it means we don't have to have another truck, a trailer. We don't have to haul the animals, get them all stressed out to go to the inspected facility up in Courtenay. That's the closest is Courtenay, so it's up over the hump and that. So it allows us to kill them here and get them to a cooler that's been health inspected. In the past, we were shipping everything off to the mainland, to the auction there, and so we're just developing the market now. So it's something we're hoping that people are going to be interested in supporting local agriculture. The Angus we had bought back in '95, something that needed to be using the pasture. And Black Angus beef, of course, had already started developing its own brand, so that's why we stuck with Black Angus, and we do actually prefer it. It marbles more naturally, just raised on grass. There's no hormones, no antibiotics that we use on the animals. Right now, we're creating a list for people to be able to be told when we do have product available. It takes about 2.5 years for a beef to actually be grown to productive weight. So hopefully this fall we're going to have some available. We are diversifying. We've got walnut trees that we've got growing in along the back there, and we've got some trees happening in the orchard as well. We've got hazelnut trees, we've got Italian prune plums, so we're playing with some different things as well, because moving forward, there is a push, to go against animal protein as well. So that's kind of something that's always in the back of my mind, of just how else we can add to the farm to make it profitable. It's always kind of been in my blood. I'm part of the McKinnon family. My grandparent was one of the founders of the McKinnon's Dairy. So that's always kind of been there. My mom and dad have the farm out in Cherry Creek. My husband's family, his dad was the last large animal vet here in town as well. And so it's always been a part of us. There's something, I don't know, it's very grounding. It's a cycle of life. You get to see the animals just freely roaming, doing their thing, and we're very grateful for that as well. And whether it's a plant or an animal, I feel we need to be respectful of all life force.
Isn't it wonderful, the passion that Lisa and Jamie have at Stonehaven Farms? It's amazing to see how they're diversifying their farm and adapting to potential climate change and people moving away from eating meat and whatnot. But there's a lot of other things happening within our valley. I'd like to introduce you to Guy Langlois, who is running the Shelter Farm.
Hi. I'm the manager at Shelter Farm and also the instructor for the Farm Worker Fundamentals program at North Island College. And today we have lots of produce at the market here. We have some eggs from What the Flock Farm, Cullen's Eggs. And we have some of our freeze-dried products and canned goods that we produce in our kitchen. We have an abundance of produce today. Like we have everything under the sun. Yeah, we have some even melons today and gourmet mushrooms, garlic, and
without further ado, thank you so much, Guy. And you guys heard that Guy is getting his eggs from Colin at What the Flock Farm. So, without further ado, we're going to head over to Colin's abode.
We lose 2 domestic species of livestock a week, and nobody really knows and understands. And I grew up around a lot of these animals, and I understand them and I love them, and I understand how smart they are. So I'm really passionate about them. So I started collecting some of the rarest animals I could get my hands on and some of the more unique ones, and just started working with, I'll call them the old timers, and working with conservancy groups and talking to them and really expanding upon what my clientele wanted. The first year was about the chickens, and then the second year I had my website going, and it wasn't about chickens anymore, it was everything. So it went from peacocks to guinea fowl to emus, and we really expanded upon that. Most of my clientele are new families, young families. They want to buy young chicks to raise with their children or their grandchildren. There's a lot of grandparents that like to educate their grandchildren these days. And it was something where I could bring the rarest animals, really bring that education, and really bring what people were looking for. Because when you're bringing children into the mix of farming and all these city folk ideals, you not only want a chicken that's gonna lay eggs, you want the prettiest chicken, the rarest chicken, the frizzliest chicken. You want what every person doesn't have. You want the neighbors to stop and go, what is that? I have to have that. And it's really worked for me with the farms because it's really fueled my passions, because that means that I can have 40 different types of chickens. This year on the farm, we hatched over 120 different types of chickens. You won't find 120 different types here because I've sold most of them, because I've sold out pretty well all year long. But it's just something for me that is even wild, is that when I first started, I knew there was a lot out there, but I never realized the mass numbers of different varieties and color types and genotypes you have it's out there.
There's a silver lace Orpington. These hens, when they grow up to be hens, they go anywhere from like $60 to $80 a bird. And actually, these chicks sell for $20 at a day old, so they're kind of an anomaly for me.
I currently am hatching about 500 babies every 2 weeks. Just slightly under, to be honest, but it's close to 500 every 2 weeks, and I probably will start slowing down in September, and then I'll just be doing some personal hatching of my prime breeding stock to do my selections for my breeding stock for next year. But for the most part, I've had pre-booked hatches, and I've had sellout hatches of the birds that I do have, especially because I don't only breed my own flocks. I'm a small hatchery, so I order in from all over Canada. So that's why a part of my margins are really small, is I will go spend $1,500 on a dozen eggs out from Prince Edward Island or from Ontario just to make sure that I have the top, best, fresh genetics.
This is one of
I sell in 2 stages. So I sell day-old chicks to up to 3 weeks old. If they don't sell at 3 weeks, which normally they do, so I've had to slow down and stop some sales just so I have older chicks later on this year. But I sell them from that day-old to 3-week-old, and then I don't sell them until they actually lay their first egg, their point of lay.
really prolific layers.
Many farmers nowadays, you can't afford to just farm. Most farms either have a double income outside of the farm or a single income outside of the farm. So I get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and I work on the farm with my partner Darren for 2 hours. We go and work 10 hours a day off the farm, come back, work 2 more hours, and we go to bed and then hope that everything survives until we can have the focus time on the weekends to actually make our sales and do all the extra stuff like the cleaning, the deep cleanings. You know, we do our main cleaning every day. We rake the tops of the coops off and you top up the waters and you add apple cider vinegar to the water to make sure that they have good gut health, because I have a mixed flock. I have many different types of animals, which means that some animals are prone to carrying something, some aren't, and some are susceptible to it. So through our walk-arounds, you'll see that there's a lot of animals that are placed in specific places, and that's because they can't interact with certain ones, or I can't have another one being near another one because they will interbreed. So then you have these animal hybrids when I'm a breeder selling purebred animals and I don't need a guinea turkey or what have you. So it's busy. It's always busy, but it's all about the love, because my margins are small, but at the end of the day, it's more about the passion and the education and, you know, keeping the industry alive in a time when it's dying, and it's dying before our eyes, and most people don't really understand how quickly we're losing farming in this day and age.
I was totally unaware that there are more than 120 different types of chickens. That was absolutely amazing what Colin has going on at the What the Flock farm. Anyways, here I am standing with Sylvain. So he is an amazing supporter of our local producers. He's purchasing products and vegetables, berries, materials, and turning it into a high-end product. Do you want to explain what you're
Yes, of
producing?
course. So here at West Coast Groove, what we do is we take organic grown products in the region, so everything local, and I produce different types of items, like let's say garlic. I do garlic bread. I use local honey. With pesto, I'm gonna make from basil. I'm gonna make pesto, and I've met many farms here at the farmers market in Port Alberni, and I make good relationships with them and use their produce, and make delicious organic product for the region. So this is basically my business operation here, and I hopefully in the future I'll get to know more farmers and make more products. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we have one final farm. So Kraken Yolks Farm is a pretty amazing place, and they have this incredibly rare and unique Mouflon sheep.
Yes. I'll have to talk to them.
Just over 7.5 acres, and we've lived here since the summer of 2012. We did get chickens at that time, but just a smaller flock, like 24 or so. And the vegetable garden, we put that in about 2013. We always knew it would be like a market garden and stuff, and I've always sold things from the farm. So then it developed into having more chickens, meat birds as well, and for pleasure we got a couple horses. And then we had a very unique opportunity to get into European Mouflon sheep. So we dove into that in 2016. They're not trainable, they're very wild. Genetically, they're the first sheep ever, so they're just programmed wild. But I really like the idea. I like odd, complicated things. So I convinced my husband that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So we changed our fencing and stuff to accommodate the sheep. Mouflon are from Corsica, from Sardinia. So they're kind of like rodents, right? Like deer would be to us and stuff. But They are classified as an exotic animal. They're quite intriguing for hunters because they are so wild. So they're not just gonna stand there. So they're hard to hunt. They're very fast, nimble, agile. You know, they can easily jump 7 feet tall. People usually can't afford to go on a mouflon hunt, right? So they're normally raised for hunt outfits. So you spend, you know, $3 to $5 grand, you pick the animal you want to hunt, you go away with your friends and stuff and you shoot your mouflon, is normally what they're sold for. So there aren't anybody else selling them into the open market for meat. Yeah, and for us already selling into some restaurants and stuff, you know, it's a very high-end meat, it's very unique. You're not going to go into any other restaurant and eat mouflon unless you're in Europe. So it was just one of those opportunities. My background is marketing, so I like to kind of find those creative opportunities and kind of a niche. It's about 1% fat, doesn't taste like lamb. They're rare, like there's no other breeders on the island. Like I said, there's only one other breeder in Canada. There's some small little fanciers where they have small little herds and stuff of them. So we do sell their hides, I get those professionally done, and then their skulls as well. So we have trophy genetics, so we do slaughter at a year old. I do grow out some to about 2 years old. So they're not full curl, but they're very long and big, like wide bases and stuff. So they're pretty impressive. The farthest we've sent skulls is Quebec. Our taxidermist took some and sold some out to Ontario and Toronto and stuff. And we have hides in some different provinces, so it's kind of fun. I've always loved animals my whole entire life. So it just made sense to have animals. I do like to serve other people, so it made sense to have more than just enough for us and to share with others. It's important for me, for, you know, middle-class people to be able to afford to eat healthy, so I've always priced our products too inexpensive, to be honest, more to just help other people experience quality food that aren't able to maybe raise it themselves or not interested to. I've expanded a fair amount with the chickens, primarily because it's less labor intensive. So I'd say chickens is more where the income comes from. Sheep, we're starting to do some live sales. So we have 3 going out to Saskatchewan at the end of the summer, and we have a couple up in Sayward and stuff now. So that's, you know, a decent amount. But again, even though it's a unique exotic animal, we don't price tag them as that. They're priced very reasonable. We do sell hay. So that's part of our farm business, and some different products there. And then the garden. The lifestyle is worth it, absolutely. I think also pushing through on some things, you know, gives us more vitality and gives us purpose and stuff. So my life has changed quite a lot in the last couple of years, so I'm really thankful that we have the farm. And I can see in the coming years that we'll have to scale that quite substantially. But for the run that we've had and stuff, I've really enjoyed, and I don't regret anything that we've done.
Thank you, Sally. I know you had to do an incredible amount of work to get that fencing up as high as it needs to be for that mouflon herd of yours, but it's so impressive and such a treat to have here in the Valley. So to finish off our virtual program, I would like to speak with Gary Swan from Leda Farms, who has been several years one of our great stops on the in-person version of Family Farm Days. And he's been here for a while. You've been farming for a while.
1974.
Yes. And there's been several things that I'm sure you're observing over the years.
Yeah. What do you need to know? I mean, I'm observing now that I'm getting a lot of dead trees on our acreage, which is a pretty clear indication that we've got something happening with the climate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so if something you can do for your health and the health of the planet is to eat locally grown food. And so that's why we spend our energies at the farmers market, and we don't, export anything that we grow. It's all done here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you want to speak just a little bit about the growing principle that you follow?
Yes, I'd really like to do that. We are a biodynamic farm. As far as I know, maybe the only, well, I know we're the only one now. I had heard that there were some people did it earlier before we were here, but biodynamic agriculture is based around a series of lectures that Sear, I think, Rudolf Steiner did in 1928, I think was the date, on the request of farmers in Europe, right? They were finding that things were going downhill with the chemical agriculture and stuff like that. So they requested that. So he did I think it was an 8 lecture on biodynamic principles. The fundamental part of it is that he gave recipes for what are called compost preparations. So, and what they turn out to be is 6 different medicinal herbs in amounts less than a handful in each foot. And we know how to do it. My son Louis has been trained by a biodynamic farmer in Squamish area, between Squamish and Whistler. And so he did about 5 years there, and eventually got to be one of the guys that started talking about it to people that came to the seminars. So he knows, he's the one, he knows better than I do. He's the one guy in the valley that knows about it. He has a grouping of followers that he helps them go through it all. We always make preparations, the Steiner's preparations, once or twice a year. Invite anybody that wants to come. And we also do the biodynamic compost, which is really great for composting because you end up with great humus. And I should talk to you a little bit about it because I know you're an important person for getting composting going in the valley, which is way to go. Thank you for that. The only thing that I've learned from the experts on composting is that you've got 2 types of compost: stable compost or active compost. So we really like to make our compost active compost because that means it's got a lot of biology in it, and it transfers that biology into the soils that we're doing. If you get to stable compost, you don't have as much microbiology thing. It's kind of died out when this thing. So you don't want to throw it away, but it's only useful for mulch.
Yeah.
It's not good for making fertile soils, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to go to a few workshops out at Leda Farm, and Jackie, Louis, and Gary are incredible resources for this community, and just so thrilled to have them here and able to share their knowledge. Anyways, hope you have enjoyed the virtual Family Farm Day tour, and really hope that we get to connect in person next fall.
We'll see you next year.